Most men get confused, misled, or emotionally drained because they listen too closely to what a woman says and ignore what she shows. Words are easy. Anyone can say they care, say they're interested, say they want something serious, or say they're just busy. But actions require effort. They require intention. They require emotional investment. And this is where the truth always lives. When a woman is genuinely interested, her actions naturally align with consistency, presence, and engagement. She doesn't disappear for days, she doesn't leave you confused, and she doesn't make you feel like you're fighting for her attention. You don't have to decode mixed signals because real interest is rarely complicated. The problem is men often override the reality in front of them with what they want to believe. They cling to comforting words because facing the truth feels painful. But the truth is the only thing that protects you. In these unspoken moments, her heart decides what her mind will later rationalize. A man may think that being loud, assertive, or overly confident will impress her, but a woman feels the difference between genuine and artificial energy. True confidence is quiet. It doesn't demand attention, it creates gravity. Women are drawn to men who bring calmness into a room, who don't need validation, who don't chase approval, but instead carry themselves with quiet purpose. This kind of energy signals maturity, strength, and emotional safety. It says, without words, "You can relax around me. I know who I am." In contrast, when a man tries too hard, forces himself into interactions, or masks insecurity with arrogance, she senses instability. She may not call it out, but her attraction fades because the energy doesn't feel right. Women also respond to the consistency of a man's energy. A man who is warm one day and cold the next creates uncertainty. A man whose emotions swing wildly makes her uneasy. Stability is a powerful masculine trait, and many men underestimate how deeply women value it. A steady man provides a space where a woman feels emotionally held, not because he controls her, but because his grounded presence gives her permission to be fully herself. When a woman senses that a man can handle life's ups and downs without falling apart, she feels safe enough to open up, to be vulnerable, to trust. A woman's emotional world is rich and dynamic, and she seeks a man whose energy provides balance, not chaos. She wants a man who listens more than he reacts, who stays calm instead of escalating situations, who doesn't crumble when she's emotional. Even in attraction, energy speaks first. Chemistry is not built through sentences. It's built through eye contact, presence, intention, and the confidence you carry in silence. When a man walks with purpose, speaks with clarity, and stays rooted in who he is, a woman feels magnetized toward him. When he doesn't try to impress, but instead lets his authenticity speak, she leans in naturally. In the end, women respond to what you embody, not what you advertise. Your character, your peace, your stability, your purpose, these are the things that capture her heart long before your words ever do. Women may admire a man's ambition, appreciate his success, or enjoy the comforts he provides. But at the core of her attraction lies something far deeper: emotional security. This is the type of safety she feels not with her mind, but with her heart. It is the feeling that tells her she can trust him, relax around him, and let her guard down, without fear of being hurt, judged, or abandoned. And even though women rarely admit this openly, it is the foundation of a healthy connection. Emotional security is what allows a woman to soften, to be vulnerable, to express her authentic self without hesitation. When she senses that a man is emotionally stable, consistent, and grounded, she feels more drawn to him than she ever could by money, gifts, or grand gestures. A woman's emotional world is rich and constantly shifting. It is influenced by intuition, environment, subtle changes in energy, and even small cues in a man's behavior. Because of this, she needs a partner who brings steadiness, not chaos. A man who reacts explosively, who is unpredictable, who becomes defensive at the smallest challenge, or who lacks control over his emotions creates an atmosphere of uncertainty. To a woman, uncertainty equals danger. It tells her she cannot trust his presence, she cannot rely on him, and she cannot open herself fully because at any moment he might collapse, lash out, or disappear. She will never admit this clearly because it makes her feel vulnerable to say it. But deep down, she longs for a man whose calmness gives her permission to breathe. Emotional security isn't about being emotionless. It's about being emotionally responsible. It means a man can acknowledge his feelings without letting them control his behavior. It means he can handle conflict without shutting down or exploding. It means he can listen without feeling attacked, apologize without feeling weak, and communicate without running away. When a man embodies this kind of emotional maturity, a woman feels protected, not physically, but emotionally. She feels that her heart is safe with him, that he won't weaponize her weaknesses. A woman may appreciate financial stability, but she connects emotionally with a man who brings consistency, a man who says what he means and means what he says, a man whose actions align with his promises, a man who doesn't create emotional highs and lows, leaving her confused or anxious. Emotional stability is a form of leadership in a relationship. It builds trust, admiration, and respect. Women are naturally drawn to it, even if they don't express it openly. It is the silent force that makes her feel protected and valued. When a woman feels emotionally secure, she becomes her most loving, supportive, and feminine self. Her softness flourishes because she no longer feels the need to guard her heart. She stops questioning, doubting, or overthinking, and she begins to give herself fully. Emotional security is the doorway to her deepest loyalty and affection. This is why, even though she may never say it, emotional security is the greatest gift a man can offer and the strongest foundation of a lasting connection. Women rarely say it openly, but feminine energy is naturally drawn to masculine leadership. Not control, not dominance, but calm, confident direction. This type of leadership isn't about telling her what to do. It's about a man knowing who he is, where he's going, and what he stands for. A woman feels deeply connected to a man who carries himself with purpose, clarity, and inner strength. She doesn't want to feel like she has to guide him, fix him, or constantly motivate him. She wants to feel that he already has a direction in life, that he's moving forward with conviction, and that being with him means joining a journey, not dragging someone who has no idea where he's headed. Feminine energy is fluid, emotional, intuitive, and expressive. It changes with the moment, flows with feelings, and responds to the world in a deep, instinctive way. Because of this, a woman naturally gravitates toward a man who provides balance. Masculine energy is stable, grounded, logical, and purposeful. When a man embodies these qualities, it creates harmony. She feels safe because his presence anchors her emotional tides. She doesn't have to worry about being too emotional, too expressive, or too sensitive around him because his groundedness supports her natural feminine flow. This kind of leadership doesn't mean dominating the relationship. It means taking initiative, making decisions with confidence, and being someone she can rely on. It means handling challenges calmly, thinking ahead, and solving problems instead of avoiding them. When a man leads with steady energy, a woman feels relieved. She relaxes because her instincts tell her she is with someone capable. She doesn't have to carry all the emotional weight, make every decision, or control every situation. She can soften, she can let go, she can trust. Women often test men, not because they want to create drama, but because they want to confirm whether his leadership is real or just an act. She might question decisions, challenge behavior, or express emotions strongly, not to break him, but to see if he remains stable. True masculine leadership doesn't crumble under pressure. It doesn't get defensive or angry when challenged. It responds with patience, strength, and understanding. When a woman sees that a man doesn't lose himself when she becomes emotional, her attraction deepens. She feels she can trust him with her heart. A woman also respects a man who leads himself. A man who disciplines his habits, controls his impulses, and stays committed to his goals naturally earns her admiration. His self-respect inspires her respect. His ambition awakens her support. His purpose activates her femininity because she feels she is part of something meaningful when she is with him. Even in small moments, choosing a restaurant, planning the day, handling stress, or navigating conflict, leadership shows. A man who is decisive instead of passive, calm instead of reactive, and purposeful instead of lost creates a dynamic where the woman feels cherished, protected, and emotionally secure. She may never say it, but deep down, every woman wants a man whose leadership makes her feel safe enough to be soft, loved enough to be open, and inspired enough to give her best self to the relationship. Women test men not because they enjoy conflict or want to create unnecessary drama, but because on a deep, instinctive level, they need to confirm a man's emotional consistency. This instinct goes back to psychology, biology, and the way feminine energy operates. A woman wants to know if the man she is investing her heart in is truly stable, if he can weather emotional storms, handle pressure, and remain grounded even when situations become intense. She will never say this outright because it's not a conscious decision most of the time. It's something she feels, something her intuition drives her to do, something that helps her gauge a man's true strength of character. A test can come in many forms. It might be a moment of irritation, a sudden emotional wave, a question asked with intensity, a disagreement, a situation where she expresses frustration, fears, or insecurities. She is not trying to push him away. She is trying to see if he stays himself. Women want to know if the man they choose can provide stability, not financial stability, but emotional stability. They want to feel that when they lose their center, he doesn't lose his. When their emotions rise, he doesn't react with chaos. When life becomes heavy, he doesn't fall apart. These tests are not about power, they're about safety. She needs to know he is someone she can truly rely on. Many men misunderstand this and take these tests personally. They get defensive, angry, or insecure, thinking the woman is trying to attack them or point out their flaws. But in truth, she is checking for consistency. She wants to see if your actions match your words. She wants to see if you stay calm instead of collapsing, if you listen instead of reacting impulsively, if you stay grounded instead of letting emotions control you. When a man fails these tests frequently, a woman begins to feel unsafe emotionally. She may pull away, lose respect, or become distant. Not because she stopped caring, but because she no longer trusts his ability to lead with strength. Women test because they want reassurance. They want to know that you will not abandon them emotionally the moment things get difficult. They want to feel that your presence is a place of stability, not volatility. When a man passes these tests, not by dominating, dismissing, or overpowering her, but by staying patient, centered, and collected, her attraction deepens profoundly. She feels safe enough to be vulnerable, soft, and open. She gives more love because she knows her heart is safe. A woman also tests a man's boundaries. She wants to see if he can say no when needed, if he has self-respect, if he won't tolerate disrespect just to keep the peace. A man who allows everything or tries to please her constantly eventually loses her trust because she senses he lacks backbone. A man who stands his ground with calm confidence earns her respect because boundaries signal strength. In the end, these tests are not meant to break a man. They are meant to reveal him. Women test to see your truth. And when you show emotional consistency, you show her that loving you is safe, that choosing you makes sense, and that building a life with you is worth it. Women may be captivated by charm, impressed by confidence, or drawn to potential. But when it comes to trust, commitment, and long-term connection, they rely on something far more reliable than words: a man's patterns. A woman pays close attention to consistency. She watches what a man does repeatedly, how he behaves when no one is watching, how he treats her on his bad days, and whether his actions match the things he claims. She may not openly admit it, but her heart makes decisions based on rhythms, not promises. Potential might spark her interest, but consistency is what earns her loyalty. A woman notices everything. Not because she is trying to judge a man, but because her emotional safety depends on recognizing real character. She watches how a man reacts under pressure. Does he stay calm or does he fall apart? She observes his discipline. Does he follow through or does he quit easily? She pays attention to how he handles challenges, inconvenience, and responsibility. If he makes plans and cancels often, if he speaks beautifully but acts carelessly, if he shows passion at the beginning but fades with time, her instincts tell her not to fully trust. These small patterns reveal who he really is, and a woman listens to these clues deeply. Men often think women are moved by grand declarations, romantic words, or impressive gestures. But in the long run, a woman is far more influenced by how a man shows up every single day. It's the daily communication, the emotional steadiness, the reliability, the presence that matters. A man who is consistent makes her feel safe because she knows what to expect. She doesn't have to constantly wonder where she stands or whether he will disappear. His dependability becomes the foundation she can build trust on. On the other hand, inconsistency creates anxiety in a woman. When a man is warm one moment and detached the next, when he promises clarity but delivers confusion, when he loves intensely today but withdraws tomorrow, she begins to doubt the connection. Her heart struggles because she cannot relax into uncertainty. Women need emotional predictability to open fully. Without it, they protect themselves, distance themselves, or emotionally shut down, even if they still care. Consistency also builds respect. A man who shows discipline in his actions, goals, habits, and decisions signals strength and maturity. When a woman sees that he respects his time, his boundaries, his purpose, and his values, she respects him too. She feels she is with a man who leads himself, and therefore can lead a relationship. She admires a man who sticks to his principles, who apologizes when wrong. Patterns reveal authenticity. Anyone can pretend for a short time, but consistency exposes truth. And the truth a woman seeks is simple. Is he who he claims to be? The answer is always found in actions, not promises. When a man consistently shows love, respect, effort, and emotional stability, a woman naturally gives him her trust, softness, and devotion. She feels safe because his patterns prove his intention. And when she feels safe, she becomes the most loving, supportive, and radiant version of herself. This is why consistency isn't just attractive, it's the language through which a woman decides if a man is worthy of her heart. Women want to feel chosen deeply, intentionally, and confidently, but they never want to feel controlled. This balance is delicate, and many men misunderstand it. A woman desires a man who knows what he wants and isn't afraid to show it. She wants to feel wanted, valued, and prioritized. She wants a man who makes decisions, takes action, initiates affection, and expresses interest without hesitation. But at the same time, she needs the freedom to express herself, to live her life, and to maintain her individuality. She will never admit how important this balance is, but it shapes the foundation of her attraction and loyalty. To feel chosen means she feels seen. She feels like she matters. She sees that the man is intentional in his efforts, that he's not passively drifting in and out of her life. When a man takes initiative, sending the first message, planning dates, following through with his words, showing consistent desire, she feels secure in his interest. This emotional security allows her to open up and embrace her feminine energy. She can relax because she isn't questioning his intentions or wondering where she stands. Being chosen gives her confidence in the relationship, making her more affectionate, supportive, and engaged. But when a man becomes controlling, checking on her constantly, demanding her attention, restricting her independence, or trying to dictate her choices, her attraction begins to crumble. Control suffocates feminine energy. It makes her feel trapped rather than cherished. A woman needs space to grow, to express emotions, to make decisions, and to maintain her own identity. When a man tries to limit her freedom, she feels unsafe, not protected. Control isn't a sign of love, it's a sign of insecurity. And insecurity pushes her away. Bring direction that makes her feel secure. Control means forcing outcomes, demanding compliance, or using pressure. Leadership inspires her respect. Control triggers her resistance. When a man leads through presence, listening, understanding, and taking initiative, she naturally follows with trust and admiration. Women want a man who chooses them not out of fear of losing them, but from a place of strength and intention. This means a man who knows his worth, maintains his standards, and doesn't cling out of desperation. A confident man gives a woman freedom because he trusts himself and trusts the bond between them. He doesn't need to monitor her every move or demand constant reassurance. His security allows her to feel both loved and free. A woman also wants reciprocity. She wants to be chosen, but she also wants to choose. She wants to feel like she is actively selecting a man she respects, not being claimed like property. When a man respects her autonomy, she feels honored, not owned. This respect deepens her emotional connection and makes her want to invest even more into their relationship. Being chosen gives her emotional warmth. Being controlled brings emotional coldness. The more a man allows her space to blossom, the more she naturally gravitates toward him. When she feels chosen and free, she gives the most loyal, nurturing, and devoted version of herself. And though she may never say these words openly, this balance is what a woman truly needs from a man to feel safe, valued, and deeply in love.